While we may not have time for a full drasha tonight, I think it's important to point out that this week's Torah portion is Korach. And one of the most striking pieces, perhaps, of this parasha on the week when we install new board members is it may teach us a bit about what not to do when it comes to leadership. I'm going to leave it at that. And we're going to focus on what to do and the incredible leadership that has happened in this congregation since the congregation's beginning. I realize that the notes that I had for myself for this text have fallen to the floor, so I'm going to get them. Just don't want you to think I disappeared so quickly. And it is my great pleasure to invite our outgoing president, Sabrina Farber, to join me on the bima again. There you are. Okay. I guess you could have just stayed, but paces or something.
I need the steps, Rabbi.
We're going to begin this evening by calling up 3 board members. One actually happens to be in transit tonight, so I believe 2 are here in person. Harold Levine and Roseanne Leipzig. We are so thrilled with your, come on up here, with what you have given. I have been told story after story and have gotten to experience just a little bit of it with you together in the same room, but it is such an honor to thank you publicly for your service tonight.
I will have a lot more to say about you when I give my official remarks. I'm just going to say that, of course, at CBST, we can't resist giving gifts to people. So, Roseanne, I present you with, surprise, surprise, a Siddur and a certificate that I hope that you will actually mount on your wall, because this was 6 years of blood, sweat, and tears. I will actually attest to that. And Harold, of course, gets the very same gift.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll come back up a little bit.
And And because Sherry is unfortunately not able to join us, Sherry is the third of the trio who are stepping off the board this year, I see Simon in the balcony, so Simon, maybe you'll come and take her book and her certificate as well. Thank you, Simon.
Wonderful. And as Simon makes her way down, I want to say how wonderful it has been to get to know you in your last few months as president of our board. And I know, Sabrina, that you have some remarks prepared to share with the community tonight, so we are all ears.
Thank you. I promise, very briefly. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Wow, we made it. I know that some of you sitting out there didn't think we would actually make it to this day, but here we are. And kol hakavod to all of us for persisting during this incredibly challenging time that was actually full of tumult internally and externally. 3.5 years ago, when I became president, I was nervous and excited, but also humbled all at the same time. Humbled because of the immense trust that you put in me to guide CBST into the future. Of course, none of us had any idea what the future would entail 3.5 years ago. It entailed, among other things, COVID and more COVID, rabbinical sabbatical, board turmoil, the war in Israel, retirement of our beloved 32-year senior rabbi, and many, many more things. I have always been guided by a deep love of CBST, a deep appreciation for all of those who came before, congregants, clergy, staff, members, you name it, and a deep desire to work with a new generation of LGBTQ+ Jews to imagine the future of our congregation. I must admit that there have been times when I felt like I'm sort of stumbling forward or sideways doing this job. One of the things that has kept me grounded and committed is the amazing group of people I get to work with every single day. I'm referring, of course, to the board of directors. Even during the most divisive conversations, and there have been many, we have always maintained a caring and respectful discourse that enables us to untangle some extremely knotty problems. Okay, not problems, we're not supposed to use that word anymore, we're supposed to say challenges. So challenges. I applaud the board for wrestling with complex issues, asking tough questions, and not taking anything for granted. One of the other things that keeps me going is all of you, the kahal. I am so grateful to each and every one of you for caring enough to stop and speak to me, to send me an email, to speak in a town hall, to stop me on the street and tell me what's on your mind. Occasionally, of course, there are complaints. After all, we're Jews, and there's always going to be some geschrein. But overwhelmingly, I have felt welcomed and heard, and I have felt such deep gratitude from within the community and support all during this time. I also have to take a moment here to acknowledge my long-suffering spouse, Ellen Shapiro. She has been a board widow for many years now, and her wisdom and her sheer willingness to listen to the Mishigas has allowed me to do this job and keep my head on straight in the first place. So, sweetie, I know you're listening, and I told you there would be an end date. But more seriously, tonight I want to acknowledge 3 extraordinary board members whose terms are expiring, which means that they will be stepping off the board for now. Sherry Felt-Dratfield, so sorry that Sherry is unable to be with us tonight, but I know she is listening on the live stream, and we love you, Sherry. Sherry's background as a lawyer and her extensive knowledge of boards and board practices have been invaluable to us and especially to me over the years. She and Simon are true pillars of our community, and I'm delighted to call them friends. Sherry, we will miss your encyclopedic knowledge of Robert's Rules of Order, and I reserve the right to call on you when we get stuck. And to Roseanne Leipzig, Dr. Leipzig, I should say. She's also coming off to the end of her board service. There has been something deeply beshert about having Roseanne on the board at this particular moment in time, because Roseanne was one of the original members of the very first CBST search committee. Her abiding love and generosity for the community are unbounded. We have Roseanne and a few others to thank for the launch of our Aging Together program and for the sheer continuity of folks who have been with us for many, many years. Thank you so much, Roseanne. And Harold Levine. Harold is probably one of the hardest working board members at CBST ever. He's the kind of person who, when he sees a need, he jumps right in to fill it. He's always willing to listen and always willing to consider all sides, and he is never afraid to speak his mind. Okay, good, a little titter, that's what I wanted, that's exactly what I wanted. Not a loud guffaw, just a titter. Harold, your honesty and your focus are truly breathtaking. Harold and I go way back, and working with him has been a true pleasure. Harold has always been my sounding board and my partner in all things CBST. Thank you, Sherry, Roseanne, and Harold. I am honored to remain on the board as vice president, a little bylaws magic, it's okay, we checked it out, where I hope I can be a voice of continuity while making way for change. I keep coming back to a phrase that I repeated over and over again during the rabbinic search phase, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, as a motto for what we're trying to do at CBST. I have promised each of you that we won't make this mistake as we embrace the changes that lie ahead for us, a new senior rabbi, a shifting political landscape, and ever more uncertainty in the Jewish world. CBST will remain steadfast, in no small part thanks to the power of this extraordinary community.
Our incoming president, Ivan Zimmerman, has a little something. Can I call it that? For our outgoing president.
Would you believe we didn't rehearse this? This is not a siddur.
Wow, thank you. Thank you.
So I want to formally welcome our incoming board members. How exciting to welcome Liz Cooper, and you can come on up to the bima. Rabbi Kim Garinger is somewhere in transit in Israel, somewhere between here and there. I'm not sure where. So we're welcoming you in absentia. We're welcoming Erwin Krut. Greg Passon and Mike Vine. How wonderful to have you return to the board at this time of transition. Our executive committee consists of our executive officers, Noemi Mislia, Greg Passon, Bonnie Pollack. Where's Bonnie right there in front of me? Okay. Kenneth Carpel. Okay. Our our secretary, Kenneth Carpel, our treasurer, Naomi Blakeman. Sabrina Farber continuing as our vice president, and of course our new president, Ivan Zimmerman. In addition, I want to welcome Tanya and Eric, Stephen and Lori to join us up here so we can have our whole board. Jason and Adam and Rabbi Kim Garinger are in absentia tonight, but I think this is everyone else. Am I getting that right? That's wonderful. So I'm also going to ask any other past presidents, and there are already some on the bima, to join us up here so that we can give some blessings to these folks, and also invite up the board members who just stepped down. Harold, Roseanne, please come back and join us. This blessing has 3 parts. The first part of the blessing is going to be the congregation rising in body or spirit and reciting a prayer for the new board members. Oh, I was just talking about it theoretically, but you did it, so that's great. I love that. And after the board installation blessing, which you can find on page 5, we are going to do our best to cover this group with a couple of talitot, which might mean you all need to squeeze in a little bit more, and offer you our most ancient blessing, the priestly blessing with which Aaron blessed the Israelites in the wilderness. So you all get to listen, particularly those of you continuing, and the congregation can read together and offer our blessings to you. We ask your blessings, O God, upon those who have been selected to lead and serve our congregation. As they perform their duties, stay ever mindful of the high purposes to which we are well dedicated. Help them to be faithful heirs to those who have preceded us and worthy predecessors of those who will yet follow. May their actions reflect strength and wisdom and bear testimony to the great heritage which they represent. Grant our leaders strength when they are weary, hope when they are discouraged, patience and perseverance when they face any obstacle. Bless them and those dear to them with health of body, vigor of mind. May their labors reflect the honor of our nation and our people. Amen. I believe these are the talitot, right? Okay. Rabbi, where would you want to cover this to? of his son, Tara, in the front row, and partner, wife, Taryn, in the front row, I want to call upon our new president, Ivan Zimmerman.
Thank you, Rabbi Klein. What an honor it is to stand before you today As Sabrina put it, I too am humbled by the trust the board has put in me. I look out and see so many friends, some of whom have become among my best friends, and many others who I look forward to getting to know better. I grew up in Putnam County, New York, in a small town that still managed to have more than its share of anti-Semitism. Organized religion was not top of mind for our family. We identified as Jews, and certainly were identified by others as Jews. But our regular practice did not extend much beyond Shabbat dinners and a few high holiday prayers. I never found a synagogue I was comfortable in. My parents' evident distaste for the local choices didn't help. And I spent most of the 1980s in Taiwan, Japan, and China, where my identity was very much defined by the color of my skin and the shape of my eyes, full stop. I only started to think more about Judaism when I decided to marry someone who happened not to be Jewish. And then I was hard-pressed to find a place that I was comfortable enough with to justify my desire for a Jewish wedding. Certainly, if I couldn't find a place I liked, I could hardly ask someone else to join me on a journey to it. So 26 years ago, my girlfriend Taryn and I went synagogue shopping. It was more like a masochistic game of, can you top this? What aspect of this Jewish place of worship do you find most alienating? I was bemoaning a seemingly futile quest to my then Planned Parenthood colleague and neighbor Lynn Paltrow and her wife Sarah Krowich. They had a suggestion. And one August evening, we walked up that iconic inner ramp in the courtyard of West Beth to CBST. We were welcomed by Ruthie Berman and Connie Kurtz as if we were long-lost cousins. They showed us pictures of their latest stay in Florida. Rabbi Klein spoke. It all didn't follow automatically from there, but it happened. We found ourselves welcomed into a community that knew something about welcoming everyone, that understood that you can't think about religion as separate from the entire person. A community of people who always take Judaism seriously, even as they are never self-important. A community of wonderful music and profound study. A community with a fierce social justice orientation led by a wise, warm, and charismatic rabbi who met us where we were. A community that, not coincidentally, has many congregants who converted not for someone else, but for themselves. Over the years, as we learn more about this spiritual home of resistance and joy, we have become so much a part of CBST that we can't imagine our lives without it. My parents were welcomed back into the fold here. They loved coming to services and would have been happy to know that I had my second bar mitzvah here, not under protest, inspired by our son Taro's journey on the same path with Rabbi Weiss. I've served on the board of directors for 13 years, including 3 years as Eric Rosenbaum's vice president. I remember a board meeting early on where a congregant spoke passionately about how CBST should not have any straight members, much less members of the board. Now I have become the first straight president of CBST. It took me many years to know CBST well enough, and for CBST to know me well enough, for this to even be a possibility. And the world has changed, and CBST has changed, and I have changed. There are lots of other synagogues that now welcome LGBTQ plus Jews, but they aren't LGBTQ plus synagogues, and they cannot have that history and knowledge of what we stand for. CBST understands what it is to be marginalized, even among the outsiders. CBST understands what devastation a plague can bring. CBST understands what it really means to bring your whole, honest self to a place of worship. I know there is little need to review how fraught this moment is for CBST, for LGBTQ plus Jews, for Jews as a whole, and for Yoshvei Tevel. I believe CBST is uniquely positioned to be a leader in a time of so many crises. Thanks in part to the teachings of Rabbi Klein, we know how to be our best, most passionately Jewish selves at home and in the world. We are dedicated to being that welcoming community, that place of vibrant music and prayer, that beacon of intellectual Jewish life. And we are going from strength to strength. As to the old strength, as you just heard, we are losing to term limits 3 of our hardest working board members, Harold Levine, Sherry Felt-Dratfield, and Roseanne Lipsy. I am heartened to know that they aren't going far and will continue to contribute, each in their own way, to our success. Both of our Cooperberg Master Rabbinical interns are cycling out to even better things. And of course, Rabbi Kleinbaum is now our Senior Rabbi Emerita. As to the new strength, we start with our new rabbi, who I already have been working extensively with, and confidentially, he's terrific. In addition, as you all know, we have 5 new members of the board. Greg Passon and Mike Vine, 2 former presidents, are rejoining at this pivotal moment. Liz Cooper and Erwin Crute bring many skills and their experience in the Rabbinic Search Committee. And Kim Geringer will add her perspective not only as a former congregational rabbi, but as a supervisor of the intern program at HUC. Speaking of which, Noemi Meslia and I had the privilege of being on the interview team for our wonderful new interns, Alana Krivo-Kaufman and Marcus Holly. Some of you had a glimpse of them at our Pride service. They will join our incredibly strong clergy team in the fall. Till then, thanks, Adam, for holding the fort. And our administrative team has been bolstered by 2 great additions, Ariel Cates, who has returned to head up communications, and Terry Rosenberg, our new development director. This board is full of fierce warriors for CBST, for LGBTQ plus Jews, for Jews as a whole, and for the world. In a time of rabbinic transition, they are the key carriers of the heritage of CBST. They are dedicated to our kahal. Like me, they believe in the power of CBST, in the way that we nourish this holy place as it nourishes us, in the seriousness of the moment. And we are united in our determination to do everything we can to help make Rabbi Klein successful. I hope you will all join me in this. I am sure to make my share of missteps in the months ahead, but please know that those missteps will come from a place of respect, of honor, of love for this home we share. I do want to hear from you with any suggestions. izimmerman@cbst.org is my new email address. CBST is a source of moral clarity, of comfort, of strength. We do know that we will be facing hard times at home and abroad, regardless of what happens in November or in the Middle East. And we know that things can always get worse. We have learned many lessons the hard way about supporting each other in times of need. I truly believe that the love we have for each other is our secret power. I'm confident that we will continue to have each other's backs right here as we move CBST into a brighter future. Shabbat Shalom.
Yashar kochacha. Shabbat shalom. What a beautiful night. What a beautiful week. A week filled with celebrations of leadership. I've been walking on air the past week since Pride Shabbat, and I imagine that you're not the only one who is charged up by the music, by the teaching, by the prayer, by the connectedness, by the moment, a moment that seems to have happened just once in a generation and a half. How very, very special. Tonight we celebrate leadership. We celebrate the leadership of our board. From CBST's earliest days, this congregation has centered. In fact, I'm not sure there was anyone else but the center of volunteers who came together to lead, to pray, to be joyful at times where it was hard to find other spaces to do that authentically, to find joy later even in plague. These years later, 51 years later, we are still a congregation that centers its members, its leaders, and appreciates year after year, board after board, the leadership, the people who have stepped up to make sure that this community is what it is. And of course, tonight, sharing this moment with our new board, I also want to acknowledge 32 years of Rabbi Kleinbaum's leadership as senior rabbi of this congregation. What a wonderful, wonderful thing to continue to celebrate and continue to be influenced by day after day as we move forward together. Transitions can be challenging. It has been said before tonight and has been said for a while, both in these halls and beyond. We have a certain amount of anxiety. But transitions, I did that thing from the Fiddler on the Roof, tradition, transition. But transitions are also filled with potential. There are times of generativity. There are times of anticipation of the best sense, of growth. So I'm so excited for us to be in this transition together. I'm so excited to have so many opportunities to listen to each of you in the room, each of you in your rooms online on our live stream, and each of you who might hear this recording later, and the hundreds of you, who are just, happen to be away this weekend and aren't here tonight, as I get to know each of your stories, each of your CBST stories, and we get to know each other and plan for the future of this incredible, incredible community. And even in transitions, there are many things that stay the same. Tonight is Shabbat. Rabbi Werber reminded us as we entered Lecha Dodi about being in this moment. And wow, have we all been in it. Our tradition teaches us that each week on Shabbat we have a neshama yetera, an additional soul that is with us throughout these 25 hours. We can be twice as, I'm messing up the order of my sentence, we can rest twice as much. Perhaps we can eat twice as much, pray twice as much, and maybe most importantly, as Rabbi Werber alluded to as well, we can be twice as present, right here, right now, in this moment. This might be the most important lesson of this Neshama Yetera. We're doubly accountable to our community, to those whom we love, and yes, to ourselves. So my wish at this time is for us to keep remembering that Shabbat is here. That as the sun goes down every week, we have an opportunity to embrace this neshama yetera. That we have an opportunity to come back with one another into these halls or online. That CBST is here, has been here for 51 years, and will still be here. We have a wonderful team of leadership in our whole clergy and staff team, in our board of directors, and this is the kind of community where everyone who has wanted a leadership role can have some kind of a role as we develop and strengthen year after year, week after week, generation after generation, this community. So I want to ask you to join me, join Ivan, join all of us this Shabbat in embracing that neshama yetera, embracing that idea of showing up and being present. Over and over tonight, we have been reminded what a hard, hard world it is out there. From Israel, Palestine, to the Supreme Court ruling just a few days ago. There's a lot to really, really struggle with. But I want us to come together as a community. I want us to embrace that extra sense of being present, because that gift of Shabbat that our people has had for thousands of years is one that can remind us that hope comes from connection, from personal relationships, that this is how love begins, with the one-on-one. And that as we come together week after week, as the sun goes down on Friday, we can take care of ourselves. We can take care of one another. And by taking care of this community, can model what love is and what the world can be. So in the spirit of that joyfulness of this day and the extra joyfulness that there is tonight as we usher out the month of Sivan and welcome the summer month of Tammuz, I want to invite you, as is our custom, to stand together for some Psalms of Hallel. Tonight we're going to turn to page 160, and you'll notice the words of B'tzeit Yisrael are themselves a reflection of a time of transition. Imagine the trepidation that we felt walking out of Egypt on the seventh day of Pesach, crossing the sea, and yet the joy that we embrace in these words. Please rise as we turn to page 160 at the bottom.